Seriously, how did we get here? What are we doing? Why am I here? Who am I? No, I'm just kidding. Those are questions for another time. For now, at least, the real question is, how did we get here? To a point where humanity's impact is really so vast that we've changed the course of history, and it's a forever thing. It's not now, it's not a couple years, it's forever. And that's the story of the Anthropocene. Let's take a step back. Anthropology is the study of humanity, the study of man and woman. Our history, cultures, and everything in between, the ways we interact with others, the ways we interact with the world, with nature. If there is one thing anthropology teaches us, it is that humans are deeply connected to their environment, and every tool we've invented, every society we've built, all of that has left its mark on our planet. And the Anthropocene is not just a geographical idea. It's an anthropological one too, of course. It's about how we as a species have shaped this world, and how those changes reflect who we are as mere inhabitants of a big rock floating through space, like we saw earlier in the presentation, earlier in my short film. Anyways, let's talk about the Anthropocene itself. This term was popularized by Nobel Prize winning scientist Paul Crutzen, who argued that human activity has become a geological force, and one that we should reckon with. But defining when the Anthropocene began is a little more complicated than that. That's where the work of my inspiration, Simon Lewis and Mark Maslin, comes in. And in their paper, Lewis and Maslin argue that to define the Anthropocene, we need a global marker, something visible in Earth's geology, something we can see, something we can touch, They proposed three main candidates: the Orbis Spike in 1610, the Industrial Revolution, and the bomb spike of 1964. So let's break these down as just some ideas. Firstly, the Orbis Spike. Around 1610, European colonization of the Americas caused a dramatic drop in carbon dioxide, CO2 levels. This happened because the indigenous populations who had managed that land for years, thousands of years, were decimated by disease and violence. As forests regrew on abandoned farmland, carbon was pulled out of the atmosphere. A change so significant, we see it in ice cores. It's still recorded. To this day, we see it. The Orbis Spike is a powerful example of how human actions, both intentional and unintentional, can and will leave a mark on this planet. It also reminds us of the devastating consequences of colonialism, not just for people, but of Earth itself. We always speak about colonialism when we're talking about different groups that inhabit this Earth, but we all colonize the Earth. That's one thing we all have in common for sure. Next, the Industrial Revolution. In the 1800s, humanity entered a new era powered by coal and steam. This period transformed landscapes, economies, the entire ecosystem. But it also marked the beginning of our reliance on fossil fuels. And that's a reliance that has driven climate change ever since, in the pursuit of, however you may call it, capitalism, to boil it down to the simplest, to reduce it to the simplest form. And yeah, ever since we see these dramatic changes in the environment, and that is largely due to the Industrial Revolution. It's often seen as the start of the Anthropocene because it represents a turning point, a time when human activity began to really alter the planet on a global scale, something we can't turn back, something that was a domino effect for probably forever. I mean, we'll see. And then we're talking now about the bomb spikes. Like, we have a lot of bombs. So now we have a radioactive signature on this Earth, which wasn't, well, maybe it was there naturally, but we have a different type of radioactive spike. Look at Chernobyl. Look at the devastations caused. Yeah, this bomb spike in the mid-20th century entailed nuclear weapons and a lot of testing of nuclear weapons. And this left a radioactive signal across the entire globe as well. This marker is unique because it's precise, super precise, it's global, and it's easily detectable in geographical layers. And I remember I was giving a presentation on controlled burns just yesterday, and we were talking about coring soil, looking at soil sediment to see the different impacts of humans over time and how we used to burn things near coastlines for control and so on. And these have left such a big mark on the Earth that we cannot get to the bottom. We can't wrap our heads around the entire situation. We keep finding new fossil records. We keep finding new, and even in more contemporary history, we keep finding new soil cores that change our mind about everything. Huge paradigm shifts every so often. And it's remarkable, either for the best or for the worst. But as Lewis and Maslin point out, the bomb spike is a perfect marker for the Anthropocene. Unmistakable, represents history, represents mankind, humanity, and our technological power, and its consequences. Anyways, but the Anthropocene isn't just about geological matters. It's about understanding how humans interact with the world. Anthropologists study these interactions from ancient practices like farming, hunting, like I mentioned earlier, all the way up to modern systems like industrial agriculture and global trade. All of these activities have reshaped ecosystems, economies, and even cultures of the very people that we try to study. And this is where anthropology shines. By connecting the past and the present, helps us see how human decisions shape the planet and how those decisions reflect our values, technologies, and societies. I have a lot of notes written here, but I feel obligated to say things off the top of my head because this is such a deep matter, such an important matter, and a lot of people tend to get so caught up in the everyday that they don't think about what kind of mark, what kind of footprint we're leaving on our planet. But I think people are starting to see. Regardless of when the Anthropocene began, its consequences are undeniable. Rising carbon emissions, CO2 levels, deforestation, biodiversity loss, ocean acidification, not just environmental issues, they're anthropological ones, tied to how we live, work, consume, everything, all of the above. But the Anthropocene isn't just a warning, it's a call to action. We're going to see who are the heroes now, the rising heroes. If humans have reshaped the planet, we also have the power to reshape our future. We can reshape it in the correct way, or at least what we think is the correct way. Renewable energy, rewilding ecosystems, sustainable practices, not just ideas, solutions, bona fide, real solutions. The Anthropocene reminds us that we're not just inhabitants of this planet, but we are its stewards. We are visitors here. The story of how we got here isn't over yet. The question is, what kind of legacy are we going to leave behind? And overall, the Anthropocene is really a story about humanity. I don't know if it's a romantic, I don't know if it's toxic tale, or like I said yesterday in my presentation as well, Earth has a way of getting rid of junk, and maybe we are just junk. That's a pretty deep question, like I called on earlier. Who are we? Why are we here? It's pretty interesting. So, not just about humanity. Our mistakes, our triumphs, our responsibilities, they're all here. not just a geological epoch. It's a challenge to really think about what we have become and what we can become. And that was not written in the notes. That's off top. The future is in our hands, and thank you for your time, whoever's viewing this. If it's Dr. Mayher or anybody else on YouTube, I really appreciate it. My name is Patrick again, and thanks again. Talk soon.